My name is Joseph Lloyd and I'm an independent vehicle consultant. I find cars for people. Over the past year on my YouTube channel, I've done a series of about 25 reviews known as the Tweed Jacket reviews, where I've reviewed and assessed cars of all different shapes and sizes, old and new, expensive and cheap. I've had some feedback though from some of my viewers who obviously love the reviews but want something a little bit less expensive. And so I present to you no budget reviews, all filmed on a phone, no fancy editing, no fluid head tripods, no DSLRs, just honest cars for less than £1,000 that you can pick up on the second-hand market. So join me on an adventure around the country as we go and find these cars for less than £1,000, and we have a lot of fun doing so. Well, don't know to be said that no budget reviews isn't glamorous. Here we are near Uxbridge in the rain, although it's supposed to be July, and finally we have the 2005 MG ZT 120 Plus that I was supposed to be filming last time I was here. This is St Mary's Church in Harefield. I won't go too close to it because you saw it in the last video. It's a location from The Professionals, it's a location from the New Avengers, it's a location from Joe 90, and it's a location from Bugs, although really we don't want to talk too much about Bugs on this channel. So the facelifted MG ZT, just like the facelifted Rover 75, came out in 2004. This particular car is a 2005. It's one of the last ones ever made because the plate dates from the spring of 2005, just about the time that MG Rover went bust. And the previous ZT that we saw belongs to my friend Jordan, and it's a V6 model. This is a K series model. It's the ZT 120 Plus. Somebody stuck a 160 on the back of there, but that is incorrect. That would have been the turbo version of this. This is just a standard, normally aspirated K series, 1.8 litres with 120 horsepower. The styling of this car, I think, is quite successful. It sort of combines the overall design of the 75 but has lots of different elements on it which make it a lot more zippy. This particular car's got non-standard wheels on it. Actually, they don't look too bad, they look quite nice. They suit the car much better than I thought they would. Right, let's get out of this rain for a bit. Okay, let's get inside. Ibby, who owns this car, actually has it up for sale at the moment. I'm sorry if it's going to be really dark in here. There's not an awful lot I can do about it. It's just the way that it is today. So I'm actually going to switch the car on first of all, and we'll turn the lights on. BMW kind of style key, also used on the first Mini, the R50 Mini, the BMW made from 2001 onwards. There we go, look at that. Doesn't that look great? So if I make sure we're in neutral and handbrake is on, we'll start her up. Actually, I don't need to start it to get all the lights to come on. We've got the clock in the middle of here. We've got this funny material on the dashboard. Just turn that fan down because it is quite loud. We've got a brand new Sony stereo in here that would have had actually a single DIN just like this originally. There is space for a double DIN in here, but towards the end of production, this is a post-project drive car and a facelifted one, then don't have that. We do have dual zone climate control. This is a Plus model, so it's got dual zone climate control, got the famous cup holder, and not that one, because this is a right-hand drive car. Let's press that in there. Don't know what that information does. What does that do? Not very much.
Not active.
Guidance not active.
Hold button for 2 seconds to obtain
Oh,
assistance.
fantastic. This car had sat-nav originally, and I think Ibby said to me that they had a really high-end Kenwood stereo in here, which has been taken out because it's not really useful modern conditions. This Sony unit's a bit better. Glove box illumination all works. That's a good size. Door pockets are surprisingly small on this large car. See if I can open the door to show that a little bit better. It's very dark in here. There we are. Switches are, lit in a sort of nice way. Electric mirrors, of course, all around electric windows. It's very different from the Rover 75 dials being sort of blue like this. I'm not 100% sure if this is factory or not. If it's factory, then that's brilliant. Got separate controls here for the stereo as well. And I've got the same problem as before. The door locking buttons and the hazard light switch are down here. The hazard light switch, of course, on a pre-facelift MG3 is also here. Got this big weird dome thing as well that is fascinating, but ultimately quite weird, and the materials all feel pretty good. One thing that is a little interesting is the fact that the only way I can see to get into boot of the car is actually using that lever. So that's what we're going to go and do now. Hopefully we don't get too wet in the process. So here we are. This is the saloon boot. Must be over 400 litres in here. It's pretty big actually. I don't believe you can fold the seats in this particular car. I might be wrong. Got a nice boot line mat here. They've lifted it up and we've got a standard kind of space over spare wheel. Very, very, very wide boot in this car. This was front wheel drive, of course. The V8 versions were rear wheel drive of this with the Ford Mustang engine. Can't see any leaks or anything in here. It's pretty good. Lovely. So here we are, the infamous K series. This is the standard 1.8 120 horsepower version, no turbo. Turbo would be sort of around here somewhere if it had one. It doesn't have one. Cam cover gasket is leaking on this particular car, I think slightly, just weeping a little bit. It's nothing unusual for these, it's not serious or anything. Got the coolant reservoir in a complete different place from on, say, a Rover 45. It would be sort of over here on one of those. Then that's just missing a cap, but it's not a problem. My brothers, I'm sure, will supply one. And then the sort of battery and air filter and other things, sort of fuse box, are over here. It's pretty simple. This engine was replaced in 2011, and I think the mileage car is showing 138, but it will be significantly lower than that due to this new engine. Okay, let's get in the back before I get absolutely soaked. And we're in. I'm going to keep the door open, hopefully it might be a little bit more light. I know it's a bit dark in here, viewers, I do apologise for that. Yes, it's very comfortable. It's very tall, which is why my knees are a little bit short of space, but we've got the chrome rings around the door handles, these sort of, I think, unique window switches. I don't believe they are mini ones, like I said in the first view. You've got climate control vents in this car. I don't know if that's a special thing for the plus models. And headroom is okay. It's not the most, it'd be more in a estate for the ZTT. But you know, MG's a driver's car. Having had an MG myself, I really do believe in that, and I think it's time for me to get my mount and we can have a little drive out in the countryside. Well, viewers, you join me on a rather sort of wet, rather dark test route. I didn't film inside the little of trees that we were in earlier, but yes, it is a little bit miserable today, but I am driving an MG ZT and it makes me feel good. Seats very comfortable, multi-way adjustable in this car, of course. It's not got electric seats or anything. But if you were to
my Rover 75 that wasn't available with electric seats. Let's get that down a bit. The heater's just done a very good job of clearing the screen for me. I'll just turn that off in a second once it's all clear and I can see everything. I love driving around in this area. It just reminds me of the first series of Professionals. So, other engine options available in this car were the turbo version of this 1.8K series engine, but developed 150 horsepower in the 75 and 160 in this car. They are a little bit more complicated to service, but they do a bit of extra punch. Automatic gearboxes were available, of course, on a ZT as well as a 75. The standard one in that was the lovely 5-speed Jacko that I've got in my Rover 45 V6. This is a 5-speed Getron gearbox, and I think it's also the same one that they put into the V6 model, so I'm not entirely sure. There was also the 160, that was a 2.5 litre V6 model with 160 horsepower. And then that obviously became the 1.8 turbo model, I think in about 2003. Then we have the 180, that was automatic. Not the same 180 as the ZS 180, because that was a manual only. And then the 190 as well, the car that I drove end of last year. Having owned a number of K-Series cars in my time, this does feel very familiar to me. It feels pretty good. It's not as fast as that 190 is, that's for sure. Really not as fast, but the handling, it's pretty good for such a big car. It feels very composed. The cornering is nice and flat, no doubt due to the fact we've got a completely different suspension setup from the 75 in this car. The range was quite easy to understand within the ZT lineup. It was normally just the model of the car, so ZT 120 Plus in this case, without that plus. So this is a ZT 120 Plus. There was also just a normal 120, and then sometimes there were a sport version that was a special pack, I think, for the automatic 180. And obviously with the 75 you had the classic trim lineup, literally, because it went classic SE, club SE, connoisseur SE, and then towards the end there was also the contemporary SE. Slightly different versions of the engines in the Rover 75, the 1.8 turbo, 150 horsepower, and the top of the line car, the 2.5 V6, was just 160. There's no 190 version available, though I'm sure you can just swap those over. Things to be aware on the KV6 models: thermostat housing, plastic in those cars, and they brake. Just like on my Rover 45 V6. That 2 litre model was available from 1999 to 2003 in the 75, and was replaced by the 1.8 turbo. Same power outputs in both, 150 horsepower. But any of the V6 models from 150 to 190 horsepower, they could have that problem. Get that thermostat housing starts leaking, then you've had it, all the coolant will dump all over the road, and you will have to fit a new one. Cam belts need to be changed on the K-Series engine cars on a regular basis to prevent, shall we say, unfortunate issues. Same thing with the KV6 like this. They have 3 cam belts and they have to be changed regularly. You don't want things like, water pump to fail, or the head gaskets to go over 2 head gaskets in a KV6. Sadly, K-Series though, like this, just 1. And which chances are, like this car, if the engine's been running well for a number of years with either a new engine or a new head gasket, then it should be okay. Switch camera angle over. Okay viewers, I'm sorry that the mat is in the way. It's just the way that it goes on No Budget Reviews. Right. Sorry about that branch, Ibby. Oh. It does like to rev, this K-Series engine. It really likes to rev. Gearbox is quite a long throw on this car, but it feels very satisfying indeed. Getrag make really nice manual gearboxes, and they also use them in things like Mercedes, BMW and Vauxhall and Opel. Very, very nice to use. Car for the mileage certainly doesn't feel bad at all. The ride's a little bit on the firm side. Certainly roads around here could do with resurfacing a bit, because yeah, they're not the most comfortable roads to travel on. With the lower suspension and the low profile tyres on this car, it does mean that it corners really well, handles beautifully, but the ride is a little bit on the firm side. Of course, you could just, you know, not have that issue at all and go for a Rover 75, in which case you would have a much more comfortable ride and lots of wood in the cabin. Obviously, this being an MG ZT, got no wood at all. None. Let's give that a blast again of the demister, just to make sure we can see where we go. Apologies if you've got focus issues, we're trying to deal with that by getting rid of the mist. It is just one of those days where you have to keep turning on and off the demister in the car. Feels very safe and predictable actually as well. Front wheel drive in this car, unless we're talking about the 260, which would be the VA version, V8 from the Ford Mustang. That was available also in Rover 75 for about 2003 onwards, and yes, this is a front wheel drive car, that was rear wheel drive. Of course as well, there were some diesels, but as you know on this channel, we don't talk about those. BMW was very much involved in the engineering of this car, so those engines were BMW engines, but the petrols were all Rover's own work, the K-Series and KV6. It's such a shame that, you know, this car never quite had a chance to shine as it might have done. Development didn't last as long as we wanted to. They wanted to make a four-wheel drive version of this car. The prototype of that is still in existence, and that's owned by John Newey, who is the dealer principal at Summit Garage in Dudley. It's just interesting to know that actually they were a talented group of people who engineered the ride and handling of this car in particular, and you can really tell they were. To make something so different from the sort of comfy armchair feel of the 75, and to make it feel as good as this, the sports saloon, it's very impressive indeed. I can see why people really like these cars, and you know, Ibby's not asking a lot of money for this car. He's asking about £900 at the moment, and I think that's pretty fair. It's not as fast as the Jaguar, which we looked at last time on the channel. Yeah, they got a bit more demister needed. Don't know why, I must be speaking a load of hot air. The Jaguar that we didn't see reviews last time on the channel, it doesn't feel as fast as that, it doesn't feel quite as expensive as that, but of course it isn't. But certainly there's just this sort of DNA, British chassis engineering, you can feel in this car. pleased that with Jordan's car, the ZTT 190, most of the roads we travelled on during that review were motorways, and actually it wasn't possible to do too much driving in it. Whereas this time we're on some good country roads, nice twisty ones. I'll be attempting, possibly vaguely, to get this screen to clear so focus can keep going in and out, but it's not an awful lot we can do about that. But the car feels very planted and very safe. It's got twin airbags and side airbags and ABS and traction control and things like that if the worst did happen. So we should be pretty safe in this car. I might have a 45 V6, but you know, that has a part in it from one of the 75 versions, and you know, I'm very grateful for that. It gives it a bit more prestige and power. It's got to be aware of, you know, changing your cam belts on a regular basis. V6s, being aware of that plastic thermostat housing, and that might fail. That's not really been replaced. And of course with the K series itself, head gaskets on this car was probably a problem. That's why we're changing the engine in 2011. And if that's sorted using the Victor Rise head gasket set in those cars, and done by somebody who knows what they're doing, the head gasket in a K series really must be fitted if it was replaced by somebody who knows what they're doing, because a lot of the problems with the earlier ones were the fact that they failed again just because the person who was working on the car didn't really know what they were doing, and that was obviously a bit of an issue. Hopefully Ibby also will change his wiper blades, because a little bit on the noisy side, but you know, that's a minor quibble really. So yeah, very, very thankful to Ibby for bringing the car along. We had to wait quite a while, viewers, to review this car, but it's here, and although the test drive's not been in ideal weather, I've still very much enjoyed myself, and I hope that you will have too. Thank you for watching this unexpectedly dark episode of No Budget Reviews. We just hold that light on there. We've been struggling with light levels in this all day. So what do I think of this lovely MG ZT? Well, it's up to you really if you want the K series version or the KV6. I personally think a KV6 is a good idea, but the servicing costs and potential issues on that are a little bit more of a headache than this normal K series. But thank you ever so much indeed for watching. Hopefully next time we won't have this problem with the light levels and the rain. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like this video and to leave a comment below. Obviously No Budget Reviews, it's you know, it's a bit rubbish, so please bear that in mind in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so for more of the same. Thank you ever so much indeed.